Beginning the current Daf Masech Yoma Daf Samaches begin 10 lines down at the top of the Yomid, where the Gemara continues to explain the halacha of our previous Mishnah, discussing this of the Zazel taking the Higot out, and then regarding the Param and the Srafim, regarding taking them out, regarding the halacha of the Tumas Begadim. Shiz Kozbaz Bekazik and Chesket to Endim Nefachem B'Shem is joining us today's Daf to be exclusive for Tinnik Ben Yehudis. Gemara continues the discussion of the halacha of the Mishnah regarding the burning of the Sarla Hashem and the Parakah and Gadol. As we mentioned, we take them out woven together, and as it relates to the laws of Tumas Begadim, regarding those who actually burn the Parvasar, as we had a machlekes in the Mishnah, when do the Begadim become tummy, and the Gemara brings the sources for those opinions. Then we begin the next parak, the 7th parak, regarding the Kriyas of Torah performed by the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, which is part of the Avodah Siyam. That gets us into a discussion, which continues into the next Daf of Big Day Kahuna of Nitnu Lahanis Ben or Lo Nitnu Lahanis Ben. If the Kahana garments are permitted to have benefit from it or not. So we keep on the concept of today's Daf is the Shalish Machnas. There's the Yerushalayim, which includes the Machne Yisrael. Then there's the Machne Leviyah, which is the Harabayis, the Temple Mount. And then in the base of Mikdash is the Machne Shechina, which is specifically that where the Kahanim go to. Those are the three machnas as it relates to laws of Tumah. Par Kohen Mashiach is the bowl of what the Kohen Gadol brings when he does a sin, and Par Eidah is what's called the Par Helm Davish Al Tzibur, is when the Sanhedrin gives an erroneous ruling and the whole Klal Yisrael does the sin based on that. Shum Zadeshin is the ashes, the shovel full of ashes that's taken from all the ashes that burn through the karbanas, and they put it there on the side of the Mizbeach. So begin the current Daf. The Mishnah had told us that it says in the pasuk, whoever burns those param hanisrafim, the par and the sar of Yom Kippurim, which their blood is sprayed inside the kodesh hakadashim, they're not burnt on the outside mizbeach as normally like oilei sar or chatois. Rather, they're taken out and they burn them out of the machna, and they have to wash their garments. So the Mishnah had said, from when do we say that their garments become tummy? So we had a machlekes in the Mishnah. Tanakama had said, the moment they leave the wall of the Azara, that's when their begadim become tummy. Shimon had said, no, when the fire takes a hold of the majority of that power and the side that you're burning, that's when their garments become tummy. So now the Gemara says, Tanaban, the Gemara brings the source for this halacha, that it's when the moment that you leave the Azara. Now, keep in mind, like we said, that there's three machnes. There's Yerushalayim, which is the machne Shlishis, machne Yisrael. Then there's the machne Levi, which is Harabayis, and then you have machne Shechina, which is the Azar. So essentially, the opinion that's saying that when you leave the Azar is when the tumah is going to happen for those who are burning the param and the siyum and the srafim, means to say once you leave one machna is when their begadim become tumah. So Tarban, we learn the Bryce. That's what the Gemara starts over that premise. It says in the pasuk in Vayikra. It says over there that the par hachatas and the sir hachatas, which are these par that the Kohen brings in the Sar Hashem, which their blood was brought l'chaper b'kodesh, which was, like we said, their tumah was only for tumas mikdash gedasha. So the pasuk says, as our brayza quotes, you should take it out of the camp and you should burn it, as the pasuk concludes, in fire, its hide, its flesh, and its waste matter. Now it says the brayza like this: lahalon over there by the par ha'edah, which is the Par Helm Davish Al Tzibur, and by the Kohen Mashiach, which again is when the Kohen Gadol does his own ched, Atanoisim Lahem, you give for them, meaning where you're going to burn them, out of Shalosh Machnas. It's out of the Azara, it's out of the Harabayis, and it's out of Yerushalayim. It's got to be all the way out of three Machnas when you're going to burn it. Now, Vakan, over here, it's so interesting. By the Par Nasar of Yom Kippurim, Atanoisim Lamachna Achas, you're telling me, El Mechutz La Machana V'Sarfoi. Out of the Machana, you're going to burn it. Which that sounds like out of one Machana. Just out of the Machana Shechina, right away Machana Leviyah on the Harabayas is where you can burn it already. Now, the problem is that these are all called Penimium. Their Avodas are done, most Avodas are done on the Mizbeach. Here, what's unique about it is that you're actually going to do the Avodah inside the Heichel, or possibly even the Kodesh HaKadosh, and that's what's called the Penimium. Now, they're all compared one to another regarding the fact that they have to be burned, regarding that whoever is engaged in its avodah, their garments become tummy. As we say regarding the Par Helm Davish Al Tzibur, the pasuk says, Again, that halacha that when the Sanhedrin gives a mistaken ruling and the whole Klal Yisrael does the chet because of that, it says va'asla par kasha asla par achatas. You can do for the bull like you did for the sin offering bull. Now the Gemara elsewhere expounds this whole pasuk is superfluous and it's old a drasha to tell us when it says lapar that refers to par Yom Kippurim, like Gemara says in Zvachim and in Menachos, and the primary source of it is in Teres Kainim. Now, by the par Yom Kippurim, it says hachatas hachatas, meaning it says there's par hachatas, there's ser hachatas. Why is it chatas chatas? Because we didn't learn that there should be halacha of tumas begadim, that the garments become tamei. Only these. How do I know to include par Mashiach and par ha'eda and siyah b'dezara? Oh, that's what it says more than one time the word chatas to tell you that. Oh, it even applies over there. So you see that we laid out each one from the other one because they're actually compared one to the other one. So therefore, says the Bryson King, if that's the case, lama nemamuchas lamachna. So why does it say over here by the par b'sar Yom Kippurim that you take it out of the machna, which sounds like one machna, but they shouldn't be any different than the par ha'eda and the par ha'amdav shel tzibur, which we know they're burnt chutz l'shalosh machnas. Which Tosfos actually goes through a whole discussion. How do we know it over there? Lo min hekesh min hekesh, as we're going to expound shortly, there is the halacha of 3 machnas, so why over here is it only 1 machna? So obviously, and this is what the Bryce is coming to, that this halacha of chutz la-machna, that's out of 1 machna, was not said regarding where you burn it. Of course you're going to burn the animal out of 3 machnas, like the para eda and regarding all the other pinimim. Here it's regarding the tumah of the begadim, because right after it says basarif oisam, it says yichabes begada. So it's not regarding where the streif is going to be. It's regarding the yichabes begada, meaning to tell you, once you left one of the machnas, which again is the azara, is machna shchina, mit tamei begadim, then the garments already become tamei. And as Rashi points out that par kohen Mashiach, regarding the kohen gadol, you also would learn from here because it doesn't say over there tumas begadim. We only know it from the riba of chatas. So in the Chadavi, they're also in the begadim would become tamei the moment you leave the azara, the moment you leave the first machna shchina. But of course, the Allah is going to be that where you're going to actually burn the par and the sar and the srafim is going to be chutz l'shalosh machna. So why is again saying 1 machna? That's regarding the other halacha, which is the halacha of the Tanakam of our Mishnah, that when do those who are going to burn their garments become tamei? It's when they leave the chaymas azara. That is the opinion of the Tanakama. That's the source of this brisa. Now, once we brought this in, says the Gemara, Bahasim over there by the par kohen gadol and from the par ha'eda minalon, where do we actually know that it's actually brought and it's burnt out of 3 machnas? Which that was the whole base of your question. Say, how can you be burning it out of 1 machna over there where it's the same? They burn it out of 3 machnas. The time like learn the brisa. It says in the pasuk v'hoitzi as kol hapar that you're going to go ahead and take out the entire bull el mechutz lamachna out of the machna, and that's by the par kohen gadol, by the par kohen Mashiach. Says the Brisa, that means chutz l'shalosh machnas. That means out of all 3 machnas. That says the Brisa, chutz l'shalosh machnas. How do you know it means out of all 3 machnas? Maybe it means, like it says in the singular, chutz machna means out of 1 machna. Only out of machna shchina. So the Brisa, no, because that's by the par kohen Mashiach. But when par ha'eda, when it talks about another type of par manasrafim, that of the par ha'eda, when the Gans Klal Yisrael makes the achet, it says amuchutz lamachna, you take it out of the machna. Now, this pasuk by par kohen Mashiach, it says chutz lamachna, shein tamalemer. You don't need me to tell me that. Read the rest of the pasuk. It says v'sarf oisai, that you're going to burn it kasher sarf esapar harishon, like you burnt the first bull, which refers to the par kohen Mashiach, which is chutz lamachna. So v'suk stam gedal b'to lashon. Why is it chutz lamachna? You already said you do it like the other par, which already says chutz lamachna. Samat tamalemer chutz lamachna. So that you have another machna. When you say out of the machna, I already took it out of no, it's taken out of another machna. So we're out of now machna leviyah. Okay. Now when it says a different pasuk, when it says by the Trumas Hadeshin, mechutz lamachna b'deshin, it says when you take out the ashes of the mizbech, it says v'hitzias hadeshin mechutz lamachna, meaning not Trumas Hadeshin. Trumas Hadeshin is you take it right down the side of the mizbech. Hitzos Hadeshin is they take all the ashes, the public works of the temple. They would take all the ashes and they would take it out, and you have to take it out of the machna. Now here also shein tamalemer. It's not teaching me anything because I already know that you have to take it out of the machna. Why? How do I know this? because it already says by the Param Hanisrafim, by the bulls that get burned, Chutz Lamachna. It says over there that where you take in Chutz Lamachna, El Shefach Hadeshin, to the place where you pour the ashes. And that says where you're doing it in Chutz Lamachna. Why would I need a pasuk to tell you that I have to take the ashes out of the Chutz Lamachna? I know, because when I talk to you about the Param Hanisrafim, I tell you, take it out Chutz Lamachna to the place where you pour the ashes. I already know that ashes are Chutz Lamachna. So why you tell me over here Chutz Lamachna? Rather, 10 loy machna shlishis. It's saying a third time Chutz Lamachna to add on another machna to say you got to take it out of not just machna shchina, machna laviyah, but even out of machna Yisrael, out of the whole Yerushalayim, you got to go ahead and take it out of all three machnas. That's the source how we know. And since they're all compared one with the other, so therefore, obviously, if the Hitzas Hadeshin is out of all three machnas, obviously the other two are also, because when you say they're taking out Chutz Lamachna, they're taking out Shefach Hadeshin. So that's how we know that they're all burnt out of three machnas, and so too the parents are Yom Kippurim. So why does it say, as we said, here our pasuk Chutz Lamachna out of one machna? Again, that's regarding the other part of the pasuk, not regarding the sofer b'eish where you're going to burn it, but regarding the next words in the pasuk, where it's that whoever doesn't have to wash his garments, that tova of the begadim starts the moment he goes out of one machna out of the azar. Now it says the Gemara, Rabbi Shimon, who he says in the Mishnah, like the other opinion, he says the garments actually of the kohen who's doing the avodah do not become tamei the moment he leaves the azar. It's only until the majority of the fire is inflaming those bulls that you're burning. So haim chutz lamachna. So this says by the power of the Yom Kippur chutz lamachna, my overlay. What is he doing? I mean, it can't be teaching me that the moment you leave the machna is when you burn it, because we know they're all the same and they're all out of three machnas. It can't mean also regarding the Tumas Begadim, because he doesn't agree with that halacha. He doesn't say it's when you leave Chaymas Hazara. He says it's much later when you're already in the middle of burning it and the majority is burned. That's when the Begadim come to this. So what's Chutz Lamachna come to teach us? My overlay. So it says the Gemara, Mebadlik the Tanya, you need to have something else. Like we learn in the Brisa. Rabbi Lazar, he says, Nemer Khan, it says over here, by the power of Yom Kippur, Mechutz Lamachna. So he's using it for Gzeir Shava, essentially. And the Nemer Hal says over there, by the power of Duma, it says Mechutz Lamachna. It says, Mechutz Lamachna. So Makan, just like over here, by the Param Hanisrafim, what we talk about, why we have these extra words over here, Chutz Lamachna, because now we're teaching everything. But it's used for the Gzeir Shava to tell you, just like over here, it's Chutz L'Shosh Machnas. As we say, we know we have to bring it out of three machnas, as we know from all the other ones, Pareda and then the Parkoy Mashiach, there, like we said, all the Param Hanisrafim have to bring Chutz Machnas. So Aflahal, and so too over there, by the slaughtering of the Paraduma, this week's parasha, Parashat Kukas, out of there by the slaughtering Paraduma, it's also Chutz Lamachnas. Also has to be out of both three camps. That's what it's used. It's used for the Gzeir Shava, Chutz Lamachna, to make Gzeir Shava the Paraduma that has the same words to tell me that also over there you have to slaughter it out of the Machnas. Now the Gzeir Shava goes the other way too. Malahal, just like over there by the Paraduma, is b'mizracha shel Yerushalayim. It's by the east of Yerushalayim, because it says that they would spray when they would shech the Paraduma on Har Zeisim, they would spray it al Nechim Ne'omer towards the entry of the Elamite. Now, the entry of the Elamite is on, if you're facing it, the entry is in the east and the end is on the west. So if you're spraying towards the Pesach HaHeichel, that means to say that you're on the east of Yerushalayim. So Avkam b'mizrach Yerushalayim, so over here when you're burning the power of Yom Kippurim, it should be on the east of Yerushalayim. That's what he uses with Mechutz Lamachna. Now then the Gemara goes, okay, Rabbanan that they learn out. They use the pasuk of Mechutz Lamachna for Tumas Begadim to say that's when their garments become tummies, when they leave the Chemes Azara, so they don't have it for Gzeir Shava the Paraduma. So according to them, Heichasarfla, which direction do you go ahead and you burn the power of Yom Kippur? You don't have a source. They don't have it to compare it to Paraduma, just like over there is the Mizracha Sot over here. So that says the Gemara, they use it to the time like we're in the Bryce, meaning they're going to tell you where you're going to burn. There's a Bryce that actually asked this question. Where do you burn it? It says Getindim and Beis, let's find Yerushalayim, towards the north of Yerushalayim. So not like the east, according to the other opinion, which compares it to that of Paraduma to the east, no, to the north. Why? Because as Rashi explains, since it's a chatas, although you don't do it in the base of Mikdash, but it's called a chatas, and all chatayis are done in the north, so therefore it's done towards the north of Yerushalayim. And b'chutz l'shosh machnas, and obviously additionally, like we mentioned, it's also out of the three machnas and to the north. Now, Rabbi Yitzchak, he says, he says that you have to first bring ashes over there from the Mizbeach, so that it should be called the place of Shefach HaDeshen, of where the ashes are poured. And that's where you go ahead and you burn it onto the north of Yerushalayim. Now the inference is that the Tanna Kama doesn't require this. So that Amarabi says, Man Tan the Polyglot Rabbi Yisi, who's the Tanna Kama that is good Rabbi Yisi and doesn't require that ashes be there? The Rabbi Yaakov, that he says that we don't find only that it should be a slope, that the ashes could pour down, but you don't have to actually have the ashes over there. You kind of learn the Brisa. It says in the Pasuk Yikra, El Shefach Hadeshin, to the places where the ashes are poured Yisarv, that's where you have to burn the Parman and Safin. And that says the Tanna Kama, that there should be ashes over there. That's what Rabbi Yossi says, that it has to be a base of Deshin and Safin. But he says, no, all it's teaching us is that it has to be slanty. So El Shefach Hadeshin, it's where the ashes would pour, would spill, because it's on the slant, but you don't have to actually have ashes. So that's the Tanna Kama of the Brisa we just brought, that doesn't say a base of Deshin and Safin. It doesn't have to be ashes. If you had ashes, that's where it would pour down. So Abai says no, it's not a ride. It has to be like Relez ben Yaakov. In other words, maybe Relez ben Yaakov agrees that you have to first put ashes over there. He just also requires that it should be at a slant. So it's not necessarily a riot to say that, oh, he's the Tanna Kama that we brought previously that doesn't say he has to be ashes over there. Because maybe Relez ben Yaakov actually holds that you have to have ashes over there. He's just adding on additionally. It's not enough to have ashes. It also has to be on a slant. And therefore, that's what he's adding on. So Abai just says not necessarily right that time that it was Yaakov. Now, continuing with the halacha of our Mishnah regarding the timing of when the begadim become tamei of the one who's burning the parman strafim and the siyum and the strafim. So talking about when the brisa. It says in the pasuk in Yikra, it says v'hasoyrif, whoever burns them has to wash his garments and then he has to bathe his flesh in water and then he could come back into the machna. So on that says the brisa is specifically hasoyrif. It's only the one who actually burns, he's engaged in burning the body of the animal itself, like it says oisam. For example, if someone's assisting during the time of the burning, which as Rashi points out, obviously this time is like Reb Shimon, who holds the garments not become tummy until the fire takes a hold of the majority of the animal. So you see it's regarding the garments are becoming tummy, only those who are actually engaged in the actual burning of the animal, not the one who's less, you just took it out of the Chaymas Azar, which that's the Tanna Kama of our Mishnah. No, it's the actual burning. That's Matama Begadim. So it's only, and it's actually only the burning of the animal itself. But for example, V'leha would not include the one who, let's say, lit the fire. Wouldn't include the one who organized the ganze maracha over there, the whole fire, the logs, and the one who put it together. Now, so who's the one that's considered the one that's burning it? That's the one who's actually assisting as it's actually burning. It's those people who their garments become tummy. Now, you would think that even once it becomes ashes, still if you're engaged in the burning, it would make your begadim tamei. No, it says them. If you're burning them, your garments become tamei. But once it's already ashes, you already came too late to the party. You already want them as you're mishing around from the you're pushing around the ashes, already too late already. That's not going to be tamei begadim. He says, the bull contaminates. But let's say the flesh already got melted off of the animal. It's not going to be tamei begadim. So now what's the difference? Isn't that the same thing? He says no. The difference is if let's say the flesh was melted off already, but it became charred, but it didn't turn into ashes. According to Tanna Kama, it's going to contaminate until it turns into ashes, because it says oisam, them, and them is still as it's charred, but if it's ashes, not them anymore. According to Rabbi Shimon, he says that no, if it's already charred, it's not going to be tamei because it's not considered par anymore. It's only par, but this is not considered par. It's not ashes, but it's not par. And that would be the nafkamina between those two different opinions. Now we continue with the next Mishnah, which continues on the theme of the topic of this parak, really, the Shnei Seirim, one being the Sar Lazazel, one being the Sar Lashem, which we were discussing. So, Amr Loy L'Kan Gadol, they would tell the Kan Gadol, Higia Sar Lamidbar. The he-goat of Lazazel already reached to the desert, because Rashi tells us he's not allowed to start the next Avodah until the Sar reaches to the Midbar. Because it says, B'sholach has a Sar B'Midbar, that they would send the he-goat to the desert. And then only does it say V'eschel v'chatas yakter mezbecha, that the fats of the chatas will sacrifice mezbecha. So he cannot do the next avodah until the Sar Shalech reaches the mountain. So they would tell him, the Sar got to the midbar. Now it says the Mishnah, how do they know? How do they know that the he-goat got to the midbar? Says the Mishnah, they had that these people that would stand from Yerushalayim all the way to the cliff, so that they could see one, the sign of the other, and the manifim b'sudar, and they would lift up the ones that were near the midbar. They would lift up these flags, and to the one near him would see it, and he would also lift the flag, and his friend would see all the way to the one next to Yerushalayim. So B'yayim Shagia saw the midbar, and they knew that the Higot made it to the midbar. Now, Amr Yehudi says, what do you need this for? They had a great sign that it was already, that they got to the midbar. Because from Yerushalayim until the beginning of the midbar, it just seems like that this is a different opinion than the Tanna Kama. Really, Rashi explained Tanna Kama was that they had to have flags all the way till they got to the cliff. Here it's clear that it's the beginning of the midbar. And as Rashi says, that fulfilled the Sholach Asasar Midbar. It's already fulfilling what the pasuk says, that they already sent the Higo to the midbar. You didn't finish, you didn't throw off the cliff. The guy didn't get through all the 9 sukkahs that he had over there. But he got to the first one over there, got to the midbar. There, that's a measurement of Shleisha Milim. And to the beginning of the midbar is 3 mil. Now, so how do they know that it's time? Because Hochin mil, like we said on some of the bays, that from the Chashva ones of Yerushalayim, they would escort them to the first sukkah, so they would walk 1 mil, and then they would come back and take another mil. And then Mishayk mil, they would wait an amount of a mil and 18 minutes. They saw the midbar, and they knew that the Higo got there to the midbar, because again, the midbar started 3 mil away. Now it took 12 mil or 10 mil, whatever it was, till where the cliff was. But according to this opinion, the halacha of fulfilling b'shilach hasasad b'midbar, which is what he had to wait till then to do the next avodah, was the beginning of the midbar. So therefore, they knew 3 mil was the beginning of the midbar. How they know it was already 3 mil? Because they would walk 1 mil, come back 1 mil, and wait 1 mil.
Why did you wait till it changed colors? The string was much later.
Oh, so Zok the Mishnah, Rabbi Shloimy, he says, well, it says, what do you mean? There was another simon. Yeah, where it does make a difference regarding this different opinions. When did it turn white? And that's exactly part of that machlekes over here. He says, what do you mean? They had a great sign. There was a red string, which was tied on the entry of the heichal. When the Sor reached the midbar, it sounds like according to this man, Daman points this out. The string turned white the moment they got to the midbar. Like says in the pasuk in Yeshaya, if your sins are like red, Kashal Gabin, it's going to turn white. So that was the 3 different opinions. How did they know? Either because they had flags, or because they walked a mil, walked back a mil, and then waited a mil. And the third opinion was that they just looked at the string and they knew that they got there already, and then they knew they could go on to the next avodah.
It didn't always turn white.
What?
It didn't always turn white.
It didn't always turn white. Yeah, a hit. So Abaye says, Shema Mino Beis Chidudai, he says that obviously the area of where it gets rocky is the midbar kaima, is in the midbar. This will come to teach you the Ksav Rabbi Yehudi who holds Kivin Shegiyah Shal midbar, which is the point we're pointing out. Once he got to the midbar, Nasa mitzvah was already done, and therefore you're ready. Let us start reading the parasha again, which was not so pashut, like we said that. The other opinions we had mentioned previous dafim, that it only turns white when you throw it off the cliff and so on and so forth, which would seem to indicate possibly a different opinion of when the mitzvah is done. But according to this opinion, it was already done once it got to the midbar, and therefore they were allowed to go on and continue and then start the net, which is the topic of the next parak. Hadalach Shnei Shiur. Shall return to you the 6th parak and 7th parak. Shnei Shiur spoke about primarily the 2 he-goats. The Sar Hashem and Sar Azazel. Sar Hashem is the Sir Man Nisrafim, and Sar Azazel is the Mashaleh sent off the cliff. And now we begin the 7th parak Bolek Kan Gadol, which the 7th parak, which continues right now in the same thing we said after the Sar Mashaleh got there. They came with this special announcement. They said, "Oh, it was there." How did they know? One of 3 different signs, which is just in the previous Mishnah. And now that he knows, he could go on to the next thing. Bolek Kan Gadol Likris. Now the Kan Gadol comes to read the parsha, which we're learning from Miluim, which was when they inaugurated the Mishkan. Gemara tells us in the first paragraph of Hema Beis that even the kriyas of parsha is ma'akim, that certain the recitation is ma'akim. So to over here, the Kohen had to read certain parashas. Now, says the Mishnah that Imratza Likris b'big day butz. If he wanted to do the kriyas HaTorah with the linen garments that he was wearing right now, because again he was in the middle of doing that avodah saying, he just came out from doing the Purim and the Simhan Nesrafim. He just finished throwing their blood. And now we're taking it out to go burn it out there. They took it and then he went straight to the Azazel and he did the Vidu and they sent off the Azazel. So when he knows that they got there, so he's going to continue his Avodah, which is reading the Kriyas HaTorah. So if he wants to do it in his white linen garment, so Kaira he could. But if he doesn't want to, then Korbit still is Love Mishalai. He could go ahead and use his own linen garment that he has his own robe. Now, there was a Beis HaKnesses, there was a shul near the Azara on the Har Bayis on the Temple Mount. So Chazan HaKnesses, which is the Shamish, he would be Neitel Sefer Torah. He would take the Sefer Torah, but Neitel Rosh HaKnesses, he would give it to the top of to the main person in the shul, which based on him all the needs of the shul, who gets maftir, who daven shachars, who goes down for the amid, which maybe that's the Gabay, and then the Shamish and the Gabay. Rosh HaKnesses is Sgan, and then the Rosh HaKnesses, the Gabay, he would give it to the Sgan, to the deputy Kohen Gadol. But Sgan is the Kohen Gadol, and the Sgan would give it to the Kohen Gadol. And then the Kohen Gadol Oymen Makabel, so the Kohen Gadol would stand up and he would receive the Sefer Torah. But Kohen Achimais, and he would lay in Parsha Achimais, which is the parsha that talks about the Avodah Sayem of Kohen Gadol. Then he would lay in Ba'ach Ba'asa, which in Parshas Emor, and the reason why is because there it talks about the dinim of Yom Kippurim. And then the girl Sefer Torah, he would roll the Sefer Torah, roll the clothes, and he would put it into his chest. And he would say, more than what I have read is written over here. I think one explain why would he have to make such a statement. Then he would lay in Sefer Bamidbar, where it Parshas Pinchas, over there it talks about the Musafim in Parshas Pinchas. That's where we're laying it on Yom Tovim. So he would lay it because you have the Musafim over there for Yom Kippurim. And then he would be Kar al Peh. Then he would recite by heart. I think one explain why would he do that? Why would he say it by heart? And he would make 8 brachas on that Kriyas HaTorah. What are the 8 brachas? So you have Ala Torah, which Rashi says is the bracha that we make after Kriyas HaTorah, Asher Noslan Torah's Emes, V'chayel Natu B'Sechenu. He would make Vala Avodah, which is the bracha of Ritzei B'Amchi Yisrael, and Tirtza Avodah B'Dribisecha, etc. She'oisch Lavatcha B'Yira Navod, because only you alone we fear and we serve with fear. Then he would make Valaidah, which is Maidim Nachmalach, until Toiv Lahaidais, which is on the Avodah, you make a bracha because the Avodah that he's doing. The Haidah, the thanks, is right after the Avodah, like it says in the Gemara Megillah, which expounds the pasuk Zavech Toidi Chabdanani, that you see that after the Avodah, which is Zaveach, then comes Taida, which is Haidah, which is giving thanks. That's why it goes Ritzeh and then goes Maidim. Then V'amachilas Av, and he would have a bracha regarding the forgiving of the sins, which is Mochil Lavan Neseinu, B'Yom Kippur, etc., until Malach, Melech, Mochil V'Selech Lavan Neseinu. Then Valamikdash B'Fnei Atzma, he made a separate bracha for the Beis HaMikdash itself, and he would daven for the Beis HaMikdash, and he would conclude that bracha, Baruch Shabbat HaMikdash, blessed is he who selected the Beis HaMikdash. And then he made a bracha of Val Yisrael B'Fnei Atzma, for the Jewish people, Val Yishlom B'Fnei Atzma, and then for Yerushalayim on its own. Val Kaham B'Fnei Atzma on the Kahanim, then suddenly he would daven for the Kahanim, and he would end Baruch Shabbat B'Zar Shalarim, blessed is he who selected the children of Aaron. And so too the same thing it was when he did it for Klal Yisrael. And Bashar Tefillah, and then regarding the rest of the davening, which he must explain what that is. Now, says the Mishnah, Roy Kohen Gadol Kishukar, whoever saw the Kohen Gadol when he was reciting this Kriyas HaTorah, Ein Roya Par Basar HaNesrafim. He wouldn't see the bull and the egot as they were being burned. For Roy Par Basar HaNesrafim, whoever saw the bull and the egot as they're getting burned, Ein Roya Kohen Gadol Kishukar, he wouldn't see the Kohen Gadol when he's reading. Now, says the Mishnah, it's not because he's not allowed to. It's just that we're very far away. You burnt it out of the old three machnes. And we're both taking place at the same time. So we can't just constantly by the chasnas, right? You're either there or you're here and happening at the same time, very far away. It wouldn't be possible to see both of them. Now, the Mishnah makes a dig. The Gemara says makes a dig, an inference, from the fact that we learned in the Mishnah, that he was able to read the Kriyas HaTorah, if he wanted to, he was able to wear his own white robe, his own private robe. Obviously, the reading of the Torah that he did over here on Yom Kippur was not an act of service. Because then you would need to wear the big Tekuna. And he didn't have to. He was able to wear his own private robe when he was reading from the Torah. Now the problem is, the Ketani, the Mishnah tells us, oh, but Imrat said if he wanted to licorice with big day boots, to wear the actual big day kurun, the gedola of the white linen garments that he didn't, especially in Kippur, we said he could also choose to do that too. Oh, so that Shamim, no, that you can infer from this, obviously big day kurun and nitnu lahanis behen. Obviously the kind of garments are permitted to benefit from it, even not during the Avodah. Because we're obviously proving that the Torah is not an Avodah from the fact that he's able to wear his own garments. But then why does he get to choose to do and wear them if he wants to? Well, you're benefiting from them. Well, obviously you're allowed to have benefit from the big tikuna. So the Gemara says, no, it's not necessarily a raya. Because Dimashani Kriya, maybe the Kriya Satar is different, because the Tzarech Avodah. You're right, it's not necessarily Avodah per se. Therefore, you don't have to wear the big tikuna. But you're allowed to wear the big tikuna because ultimately it is a necessity of the Avodah, because it is part of the Seder Yayin of doing the Avodah in Yom Kippur. Which the Gemara says, okay, it's not a raya, but why are we bringing this in? Because the Bailam, we actually had this as a question. We want to know, big tikuna, the kind of garments. Nitnu lahanis ben, loy nitnu lahanis ben. That was a question we had asked. Could you have benefit from them? Could you use them? Or can you not? Meaning at a time of Shlei B'Shas Avodah. So the Gemara says, Tashema, says, let's bring a raya from a Mishnah Masechtas Tamid. Mishnah says that lo hoyu yishenim, the big day kodesh, they wouldn't sleep in their kohanic garments. Okay, shinahu delay. So sleeping they didn't, because as Rashi explains, as we'll see later on, sleeping is more severe because the person passes gas when they're sleeping. So we don't want to sleep in his kohanic garments. But the inference is halmeichel achli. It sounds like, but to eat, which is not a disgraceful, and you could hold back from passing gas, that then you would eat in the kohanic garments. Well, what do you mean? You're allowed to eat your dinner in the big dekuna? Obviously, nitnu lahanis ben. Obviously, you're allowed to have benefit from the big dekuna. Says Yoma, no. Maybe eating is different. Yeah, maybe he's allowed to eat his dinner with it because it's tzarech avodah. What did he eat for supper? He ate the karbanis. That's the necessity of the avodah. Get down like in the Bryce. It says in the pasuk in Shemais, v'achlo oisam, they would eat them, ashakupa behem, which there's netoma with them. What Malamed just comes to teach us, shakahan ma'oichel b'al miskapim. The kahanim would eat and they'll only get an atonement. So therefore, that's why you're allowed to go ahead and do that. But it's not a right that you're allowed to have regular hanaf from it that's totally mundane. But the Gemara makes it different. No, so the main is the zrika, but the part of it, just like the emurim is part of the sacrifice.
Yes, but if for any reason the wusa was neilam,
right, nama'aka, but it is a kapara. It is considered part of the atonement when they kind of eat it.
It's a matter.
What?
It's a matter. The dam is a matter.
The dam is a matter. Is a kapara. It's just some argument, but it's a kapara, right? But now the Gemara makes a different deal. The Gemara says, okay, fine. It sounds like that shinu delay. You're not allowed to sleep with the garment. Mahaluchi mahalchi. You're allowed to walk. You're allowed to take a stroll with them, enjoying those garments when you're taking a walk. You see, obviously, nitnu lahanis ben. The Gemara says, no, it's not a raya either. Because bedinu deluchi namad. The truth is that even walking with them, you're not allowed to be turned out because I don't test them out. So why are we talking about sleeping then if you're not even walk? Says Gemara, because the Sefer Itzrachalei. The reason why we picked sleeping was because we wanted to tell you that you're allowed to not sleep with them, but you're allowed to put them underneath your head, which then we're not bothered if you're going to pass gas or not because you already took them off you. So that's why we picked sleeping, but really even walking you're not allowed to do. It's just the Sefer of that statement which says, but Paish Makaplan, what they would do is they would take off their garments, they would fold them up. You see, they would fold them for all those people that want to be like Makaplan, they would fold them. And they would put it beneath their head. So therefore it's not a right. We just wanted to tell you that, but if you did that, that would be okay. But then the Gemara says, okay, wait a second. But you told me, what would they do? They would strip the garments all fold it up, put it beneath their heads. Okay, that's a raya too. We can infer from there, they couldn't lahans ben. I mean, you have a nice pillow. You're using it underneath your head. So that itself says you have a benefit. So Allah Papa says, no, he says, don't say that they put it beneath their head. Rather say keneged Rashay. Rather they put it opposite their head, meaning near their head. And that's what they did. Now, but Amr Basharshi says, okay, but so what we could infer at least is Shama Minah, from the fact that we permitted that they could put their big dikudah next to them. You're right, they can't put it beneath their head, can't put it under. But the fact that they put it near their head, and we're not concerned that they're going to pass gas, is that tefillin min atzad, is that if someone puts his tefillin next to him when he's sleeping, the chop limit that's going to be okay. We're not concerned that he's going to pass gas. That's obviously the same halacha as we have with the big nikuna, not necessarily beneath their head, because they would be considered having enough of it, but rather near their head. And then there's no raya that you'll have enough of big nikuna. Anytime. So let's see.